All right, Leah, you ready to go?
Ready to go.
All right, we are logging on live. So glad to have you with us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Let me just get in here and move this around a little bit. All right, Leah. All right, let's see here. Oh, there we go. Hold on one second. I'm still getting this. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, perfectly.
Awesome. All right. Well, hello, everyone. Hopefully, you guys are logging on now. And we've got a special guest with us tonight, Leah Archer from LA. Thank you for being with us tonight, Leah.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, and I'm just watching everybody log on here for a second. We'll wait for a couple of more viewers. Let's see. Oh, we're popping on, popping on. Well, welcome again tonight, and I am so excited. I've been looking forward to this interview since we spoke a couple of days back, and I'm just so excited. A few things that you shared recently, you talked about being yourself when we talked on Friday, like being yourself, showing up as who you are, and you've got such an inspiring story, just getting into real estate, dropping out of college, and just giving 100% into real estate, struggling along the way to getting to where you are today. So I will just let you go with it and tell us about, your story when you were in college, what led you to real estate, and we'll just start with that.
Yeah, definitely. So I was actually, as you said, I played softball, and my sophomore year of high school, I got a D1 softball scholarship, and then my senior year of high school, I actually did college instead. So I didn't go to any classes at the high school I went to college. And throughout my whole career, I was kind of into finances and real estate. And the more that I read, the more that I realized wealth was built in real estate, one way or another. If you look at anyone who's successful, they have real estate on their portfolio. And I wanted to do investing, and I was like, this is great. So once I'm done with my softball scholarship, I will go into real estate. And I actually visited my sister out. She lived in California. So 2 weeks before school started, for my first year of, well, my second year of college, but my first year of playing, I came out to California, decided that that is what I wanted to do, real estate in California, and live this amazing lifestyle because I felt more comfortable in California. So while I was out in California, I called the school and dropped out, called the coach and quit, called the apartment and canceled the lease. And that's how my parents found out, and my coach and everyone else. And then came back, and 3 months later, I had moved out to California, and I was 18, basically completely by myself, had always been a star child. It was interesting because I kind of went from the star child to the biggest disappointment, because it was such a drastic change for following the traditional career path versus doing something on yourself, which was an interesting change in perception on me, So I came out to California by myself, and I knew I had wanted to get into real estate. And I did a bunch of odd jobs, 18 years old, by myself. My first rent, I think, was $750 for a room. So super expensive, especially for an 18-year-old. Came out here with $4,000. So I really did, what I needed to survive for a little. And I ended up weaseling my way into being the assistant for a broker. And while I was that assistant, I just got my license, and the second I could quit and go full-time real estate, or at least stop being someone else's assistant, because I can't stand working for people, which is partially why I got into real estate. But
most creatives are like that, very creative entrepreneurs. You want your own, you want to be your own boss. Yes.
Yeah. And I definitely through who I worked for, I learned what I didn't want to do. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure, as you know, and I'm sure it's the same out there, you have people that do kind of stuff where you're ethically, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make me feel comfortable. And I realized I wanted to do things the right way. So I ended up doing, for the next 2 years, I think it was, real estate in the afternoon. And I actually worked at Trader Joe's I weaseled my way into that as well, and would work from 4 a.m. to 12 p.m. and then immediately go deal with clients afterwards. And I would never let them know I worked at Trader Joe's. And it was a kind of situation. I would have my heels in the car and would immediately change and go right into it. I started off with small lease deals, just I think as most people do, especially being I think at that point I must have been 19 or 20. And it was interesting because I had to be careful to even bring up slight of my age or ask people where they wanted to meet, because I couldn't go to bars. and I couldn't go to entertainment, and because everything, you know, especially in California, it's very hardcore. Like, you're not getting in unless you're 21. So I had to overcome that being younger, of how do you deal with 30, 40, 50-year-olds and sit out to dinner, and then when you get asked to, you know, ID, like I couldn't do that, you know? So I had to be really careful with how I would present myself, which was very, very interesting. And, you know, I think I told you this when we were talking, is through it, I definitely learned as I went. And there were times when, you know, I was in a negative relationship and left my home to move in with them, and then got in a really bad situation and ended up sleeping in my car for 3 months because I didn't have anywhere to go. I had 2 big dogs, had given up my place to be with them, and then that didn't work out. So I would be sleeping in my car, going to work in the morning and doing real estate right after, and then sleep in my car, wake up at 4 a.m., go to work, and like for quite some time. It was very, very challenging. And it was,
imagine.
Yeah, it was interesting. And it was definitely, you know, I think when you give up everything, and a lot of people would always say, you know, like, what are you going to do if real estate doesn't work out? And I think a lot of people have it as a second, third, fourth career choice, and they don't really have to worry about it because they have their husbands or wives or partners or whatever doing stuff. But I think when you're younger, you're like, if this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm going to do. And I don't have that option to fail at it, you know? So finally I started working with an investor, and it was someone who had introduced me through various people, and we got our first deal together. And then randomly we got 4 escrows all in the same week, which was crazy because I had been submitting, I think 2 years ago, I submitted about 300 to 400 offers for them. And then last year I submitted 400 offers for them. And I write all my own offers. Pardon? Yeah, one person.
You submitted 400 offers for one person. Out of the 400, how many did you get?
I think like maybe maximum 7.
Wow, it is a competitive market in California, huh?
It's a very competitive market in California, but it's also investor, you know? So I think when you're working with investors, you have to realize that you're sometimes placing low offers. But what I wasn't expecting, and this also was a lesson, was I would place offers and I would get really nasty emails back, which was shocking because I had always viewed like real estate as this professional where people really had their stuff together and they behaved in a way that I would think professionals would. And all that taught me was that just because you are driving a Mercedes and do sales does not make you a good person. And it doesn't necessarily make you a good agent or good ethical. It doesn't make you ethical. It doesn't make you good at what you do. It doesn't make you good at communication. So, you know, I had started off, and I told you a little bit about this. Getting into it, I was like, I'm going to be the normal real estate agent and wear heels and dress up have the pantsuit on and the whole thing, and really be professional, because that's what a real estate agent is. They're a professional person. And then by the end of it, I was like, that is so stupid. Like, you know how I want to do real estate the way I want to do it. And it felt so inauthentic to go in and do that stuff because that's just so far from who I am. And seeing other people that were professional behave in that way just made me realize that is not anything I want to be like. Mm-hmm. You know, like I don't have to be bougie and show how strong I am by pulling up in a Mercedes to get that client. Like, right. I'm going to do it my way, and I'm still going to get the client, and I'm also going to be a good person at the same time, and everyone wins. So it was a very big transition to see, like, you have to put in a ton of work. And I think a lot of people go into real estate thinking I'm going to kill it right off the bat. And some people do, and that's fantastic. And I think that some people don't, and they get very, very deterred from continuing because they're like, oh God, this is so much harder than I thought. But it is, you know, anytime you have your business, it takes a lot of time, and you look at people that are already there and you see their struggle getting into it. You only see them while they're at the top and while they're enjoying the riches. And it's like, oh God, they have such a great life. That must have been so fun to get into and so easy. They got in at the right moment. But you don't realize it actually does take a ton of work to get up to that level, and a ton of sacrifice and a ton of struggle and a ton of pain. But obviously no one talks about that because who likes to talk about the negatives? Right. You know, people want to talk about the positives, and it is misleading to people that are in the struggle of becoming successful. And that's why, you know, part of my journey too is I've become much more open about, like, I've gone through some stuff, and it does suck sometimes to be successful, which is a weird thing to say, but like, there are sacrifices that come with it.
Amen to that. That's so true. Yeah. I see you there. What advice would you give right now for agents who are in the struggle? Like you, back when you first started, they're struggling for business, trying to build their business, they're getting discouraged. What would you say to them?
Well, I would say you have to remember why you got into it. You know, did you get into it because you loved it, or you got things other than real estate that you can do for money? And if you got into it because you loved it, there's no reason to not stay in it, because you can still love it and struggle. You can still do things that you find that passion again. And, you know, sometimes it just takes that ounce. And even if, let's say, you sell one house, and based on our conversation, you know, my whole like life goal right now is to help people. But even if you sell one house or do one lease, you change that client's life. And like, that could be the difference between them getting married to the person, or having a kid, or rescuing a dog. And, you know, like, there's such a ripple effect that happens in real estate. I was talking to a tax guy, and he was saying with every household, it supplies 30 to 60 jobs. And like, even that fact alone is like, even if you're doing a lease or thing, you are making such a difference. And it's really easy for the ball to go rolling and avalanche. But it just takes that one little push to get into there, and then you can actually do that.
That's great.
You just have to stay strong.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still lots of times. Yeah, there's still lots of times where I'm like, oh God, this sucks, and I don't know if I want to do this. But then I meet with those clients that are, where you're like, oh God, I never want to do this again. And then you have that one experience, or you have that one connection with a client that's amazing. And then you go, oh yeah, like, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is why I'm still working. And I still have it. You know, I do a lot of big things, and it's great to go for big things because you end up with great results, but that means you're also by default asking for failure as well, you know? And to learn how to accept failure as a learning obstacle versus just a negative is something I wish more people knew how to do. There are many situations, like even sleeping in my car, which sucked. And there were times when, you know, people would walk by at 2 a.m. and it was 2 guys with their big dog. And like, that was scary as hell. Like, to be in a car by myself, sleeping in a car with 2 guys walking by it, and not knowing, like, something could totally really happen right now, you know? Right. But you know what that taught me? It taught me how to appreciate homes. So when I place someone in a home now, or when I'm in a home, like, I understand the value of having your own home and having a place to stay, and how important it is, and the safety that goes with it, and the comfort. Like, the true meaning of a home, I get it now because of that situation. And I'm so grateful that I went through that, because that just even more so fed the fire of passion. So yeah, there's that.
I think that's so inspiring, and that makes a lot of sense. And one of the things that I love about what you said is you are really good friends with people, like your clients. Like, your goal is to not just go through this transaction. Your goal is to build a relationship. Talk to us a little bit about that, how you do that, and the end result of it.
Yeah. So I don't like working with people I don't like. That just doesn't make sense to me, because I definitely like to be myself, and I like to do the things that I like to do and conduct myself how I like to. And if you don't like me, like, you're not going to like the way that I do business, because it's very casual. It's very friendly. It's very warm. It's very comforting. But, you know, and some people really don't want that in a realtor. They think that that is not the professional realtor. The way that I find it is that when I become friends with my clients or take them out to dinner, well, I'll go back. One of the main things I like to do with clients when I first meet them is to take them to dinner. Even if I'm at an open house, one of the main things I do, if I'm vibing with a client or a potential client, I will immediately ask them and say, hey, you know, I don't have any business cards. Why don't I put your number in my phone really quick? I'll text you. Let's set up a time, and I'll take you and your family out to dinner this week to your favorite restaurant, and we can talk. And I've never gotten a no, and I've closed every single deal that I've done that to with clients. And I've also become friends with every single client that I've done that to. So I like to go out to dinner, have them talk about whatever they want to talk about. And sometimes it's not real estate. I want to get to know them, and I want to know what matters to them, and I want to know what their motives are, because that's going to help me be a better agent for them. That's going to help me know what fit is right for them by knowing their background and what they really want. And I also think that when you have that relationship of, oh, that's my friend, you know, you trust them more. You believe what they say, you know, or they know that you have their best interest in mind, because that's what friends do. So when I say like, hey, I don't think this is the right house for you guys. I mean, I've gotten so close to clients that we walked into houses and them go like, hey, yeah, I think I want to write an offer on this. And me say, absolutely not. I will not write the offer, because I can tell you don't like the home. Like, if you really want to write an offer, you can do it with someone else, but this isn't the home for you. And like, let's not even waste our time. Mm-hmm. And they trust me. They go, you know what, you're right. This isn't the right. And like, thank you so much for valuing what I want more than a commission. Mm-hmm. And the second you do that, you now have their loyalty, you have their trust, you're part of their family, you're part of this huge experience. I mean, buying a home is one of the most expensive things you can do in someone's life for most people. Right. So you want to be with someone you trust, and who better to trust than a friend? Which I know is silly and it sounds so stupid, but there are a lot of people where, like you're like, oh God, I didn't like that person that I just worked with. Like, I don't know if they're you know, their motives were my best interest, or if they were just doing it for themselves.
Right.
So I like to definitely be super casual and friendly and joke around. Dinner and schedule plans together and the whole show. Anything that we vibe on, I definitely do to make sure we stay connected, and you know, I earn their trust. And I think that's a part of the job. As a realtor, I don't think my job is selling a home. I think it's being a community figure. And maybe that's just my own opinion on it. But I think it's important, because you're representing and you're changing communities and families' lives. And I think you need to know who you're dealing with a little bit more than a paycheck.
Well, obviously it's working for you, especially trending toward 40 million this year. That is a huge deal. So Raya is asking a question. She said, how long have you been doing real estate?
In total, about 5 years. I got my license 5 years ago. I think I became full-time, not this past November, but the November before. Full-time, only do real estate and nothing else. Is this connection okay?
Yeah, it's a little bumpy, I think, but we should be good right now. I can hear you now. So you said you've been doing real estate full-time without doing anything else for about a year now. But
about 2 years, well, I guess a year and a half, yeah.
Okay, and then 5 years in the business total.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So do you have like a CRM or anything that you use to prospect every day? Any like tech tools that you could recommend?
No. One thing I actually really struggle on is I have so much going on, yet I don't have any systematic tools. And it's something that I'm actively working on I've looked into different programs and stuff. A lot of the time I just keep an old school notebook and pay attention, but I don't actually like to prospect. I've never done any marketing for myself. I don't necessarily like the old school ways of marketing. And I think that there's more things that you can do. And I also, because I talk to my clients so much as it is and have their numbers in and we're chatting about other things, it's really easy for me to remember that I have them as clients. But, you know, for prospecting, I don't do cold calling. I don't do door knocking. The most I do is, I'm sure you've seen it, my Instagram.
Yes.
And I have my other Addicted to Love channel.
So tell us about the Addicted to Love and what you're doing.
Yeah, so the idea for Addicted to Love came up is kind of what I said, is I feel a realtor can be a community figure. And kind of going on passion, you know, there are a lot of times when I feel like as a community figure, I have a duty to have a bigger message, and I want a platform. So I decided to do Addicted to Love with my girlfriend. It's a YouTube and an Instagram, and we're kind of turning it into an educational, positive, LGBTQ positive message. You know, trying to use that platform to reach out to people that need support or don't necessarily have it at home, or, you know, that 12-year-old girl in Alaska who has super, super religious parents and is scared to know anything about sexuality or all that stuff. I kind of turned it into that. And it's interesting. And I just had this conversation with my executive officer at my association. I went in there and, you know, I think with being friends and the way I do business, the way that I'm going to start shifting, the way that I have shifted into doing stuff. And I think this is something that a lot of younger agents or new agents need to realize is you can be yourself and you will lose clients. You will not get that deal sometimes because that person doesn't agree with you. They don't like the way you dress. They don't like the way you talk. They don't like what you stand for. They don't like who you're with. And that's okay. You know, I don't want to work with someone who I don't get along with. I don't want to work with someone who's homophobic or, you know, like is racist or like all this stuff. Like I want to work with the people I like. And with Addicted to Love, anytime you're doing something positive and putting yourself out there and being vulnerable and talking about really deep, heavy topics, or even getting to deep, heavy topics with clients and relating to them and bonding, there's two outcomes. You're either going to open yourself and be super vulnerable and they're going to appreciate that and recognize you as being genuine, or they're going to hate you and not want to work with you. And I think with Addicted to Love, it's interesting because I'm really waiting to see the impact on my business. You know, because I'm very aware of the fact that there are going to be a lot of haters, but that doesn't mean that weighs out the good. And that doesn't weigh out when people are saying, hey, like, you're really changing my life. Like you're helping me do X, Y, and Z because you are being yourself. And even before Addicted to Love, I struggled with like, all right, am I going to show up on my motorcycle in my boots and ripped jeans and swear with my clients and go out drinking and hang out with them and stuff? Like, is that the representation I want to give to myself? And the answer is yes. I want to be myself and I want to teach other people that it is okay to be yourself and still be professional. Professional does not mean speaking proper and, you know, showing up that Mercedes and being a white 60-year-old guy selling real estate. Professional is doing a great job and being ethical and looking out for your client's best interests. And it ends there. It means nothing else besides that to me. And I think that when you're working with millennials and you're working with the new generation where Black Lives Matter and LGBT rights are a big hot topic and being yourself, and there's this whole movement of artistic, you know, abilities and being yourself and the whole Me Too thing, like putting yourself out there and being relatable to your clients is more important than anything else. Because just like anyone else, you want to work with people that are like you. And you can serve everyone and hope that you catch one fish, or you can really have a niche and go for it. Because the reality is you weren't going to get those clients anyway. You know, I'm not going to get the older racist he's not my client to begin with. So why am I trying to make him happy by being the standard professional? I'm just not. So I kind of went with that, and I'm using real estate and as a funding to do a bigger thing, and using Addicted to Love to really put myself out there. And I'm kind of doing two things. And I would recommend anyone, like, if you're in real estate, you have the ability to be a community figure and go to charities and go give back. And if you're making money, like, you have the possibility to give back to something you care about. And that will bring you more clients than anything else, because people actually relate to that.
Here at Go Realty, we have
not about money, and you're actually about doing good.
Leah, can you hear me? I think you broke up for a second. I'm sorry. You there?
Yeah.
Here at Go Realty, we have a Go Gives Back. It's a program, and $50 from each of our transactions goes to the charity of our agent's choice, and the company matches that dollar for dollar. So what an opportunity for them to go and give back to the community and hand deliver those checks. Is that something that you do as well? Like, do you give a portion of your of each of your transactions, or is it just something that how do you give back?
Yeah, right now I give back. I've done a bunch of different charities and I give back with chunks of money. I haven't done it yet where I do transaction. One of the things I want to do, I'm making a team, and eventually I'll be making my own brokerage, and a certain percentage of each commission and each of my clients will go to a charity of the client's choice. So that's down the road. I've done my own charitable contributions already and all that stuff. And I haven't really turned that in because I have to figure out exactly how I want to do that. And, you know, I think, and I'm not saying like give away all your money at first and give everything away that you have. Cause, you know, I was at a meeting with this billionaire, and he was talking about sometimes you have to choose between the bigger fight and helping an individual. And if there's any motivation for anyone and you really want to make a difference, it's an interesting discussion to say, hey, I need to make more money and I need to be more successful and I need to make sure I'm putting money in my business to grow so that I can help more people in the long run. And I think that, you know, a lot of people, and in this sense, the conversation was, do I give $5,000 to help one dog, or do I give $5,000 to an organization where that could help potentially millions of animals? You know, and I think that as an agent and as someone who wants to give back sometimes, or just in general sometimes, you have to be very aware of, you have to take care of yourself, because you have to take care of yourself and make sure you're in a position where you can help the most amount of people. And you do that by being successful to the point that your income is raised up, your platform of change increases, and you can make a bigger difference because now you're in a position where you can, you know.
And I just have to brag on you for a second. I remember I met Leah in Chicago at our YPN convention, and I remember you standing up and pledging $10,000 to RPAC, and I was so that's a lot of money. I mean, I thought about it. I was like, woo, that 10 grand. Ooh, yeah.
So let's talk about that really quick. Just what you said exactly. So one thing that I know a lot of people are probably watching. So I listened to someone named Abraham Hicks.
Oh God, you've got me turned on to him or her. Let me tell you.
Or them. Turn on to them.
I've been listening for a couple of days. Yes.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and you know, I grew up in softball, and a lot of softball is mental training. So I understand the concept of like, you have to mentally be trained to know how to view things. And 10,000 is a lot. Don't get me wrong. But I don't want to think 10,000 is a lot. You know, I want to think that 10,000 will be a very easy check for me. And if I think that it's going to be an easy check, I'm going to find opportunities where that's going to be an easy amount of money. And I kind of, as we were talking before this, going into like, oh, what's a lot and what's big, you know, some people think that $100,000 is life-changing. I think it's a good start, but it's not that much money. Like, especially in California, you can fly through that very quickly. Like, getting $100,000 is nothing. So I always recommend, with people thinking about stuff, going into business or relationships or friendships or anyone, really go farther than even you think you can go, because you will find those opportunities. As I was saying to you, scientifically, there are 3 billion bits of information coming at you per second, and your brain can only recognize 150 of those. So if I'm picking up the 150 that are saying, hey, shit, that is a lot of money, I'm just going to pay attention to that fact, right? So I'm going to pay attention to situations where 10,000 is a lot of money. But if I'm thinking, hey, that's nothing, like, I'll get that done this month, I am now finding those situations where I'm listening, I am subconsciously listening, I'm opening up to the opportunities of making $10,000 mean nothing. And it is a drop in the bucket. And to kind of go into that, you know, like, I want to do 40 million, and I would be very happy if I hit that. And I will be very close to that, but it is a lot of money. There's no doubt. I mean, last year, I think I did 9 million. So it's a big jump from that. And it's funny because a lot of people call me all the time and it's like, hey, how do you find your clients? And what do you do? And what do you do? And what do you do? And I pay attention for those clients. I want the bigger clients. I want the bigger commissions. I want the least amount of work. So that is what I'm subconsciously listening for, because I don't expect anything else. I expect $10,000 to be a very small amount for me to give out of my massive income. So I'm making it my reality. That is a small amount. And it's funny because every time that I'm like, I do some other stuff too. I do movie investments and private loans for lenders and stuff. And every time I'm like, oh God, I have like not that much money in the bank and I need it. And I really just like, I'm going to find the money. Like, I'll get a deal in this next week. No problem. Or those times where I have random people call me and are like, hey, I just need you to write this offer. Like, I just really want this property, blah, blah. I'll go with a $500,000 deal on my money, you know, and I didn't have to do anything other than look for the opportunities where that would be the situation. I really feel like you can manifest anything you want, and you pay attention to what you think is the reality. If you think 10,000 is a lot, it is a lot. If you think 10,000 is a drop in the bucket, it's a drop in the bucket. If you want to do 40 million in sales, just do 40 million in sales. It's not a lot. And if you don't make it hard, you don't want to make it harder for yourself than it already is. If you're telling yourself it's a hard thing to do, you're going to find exactly that it's a hard thing to do because you're just thinking that it is. If you think it's easy, it's going to be easy. And that's not saying that it's not going to be challenging.
If you want to do $40 million in sales, just do $40 million in sales. I love that. And you're so right. Like I have chills as you're talking because you're so right. So often we put a ceiling or limitations on what we think we can do because we don't believe in ourselves. And I think that's the problem. And that's why there's such a high dropout rate in real estate, because it's not easy in the beginning. But with the belief, or sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. It just depends on, where you are. But with the belief of you can make big things happen, you can be a $40 million producer. I mean, you really can do anything you want to do if you have the courage to believe and continue to show up. And you're proof of that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. And I think it goes beyond that. Like I struggle with, and I don't want to like prop myself up more than I deserve. Like I've definitely been suicidal. I deal with depression. The other day I told you, like, I was uncontrollably crying because I was like, I am so overwhelmed by everything that I have going on. And like, what did I do to even get myself in this situation? Because now I have so much responsibility and I can't take it back. And it is challenging. And it's really about overcoming those humps and being like, what is, I want to be a community figure in the LGBT community. And it's like, okay, so like, did Ellen get where she is by hoping and just one day it happened where she got her show and all of a sudden she's now our leader? But like, no, like she struggled like crazy. Like she had to deal with so much hate. She had to deal with so many people saying that'll never work for you. That's never going to happen. That is never going to be a possibility that you are going to be anything, because that's not a reality right now. But what people don't realize is that like the reality that you create is ever changing. Like there is no difference between, and this is what really triggered it. I was listening to this guy talking about cryptocurrencies, and he's a billionaire. And now he was talking, and I'm watching him online, and I'm listening to him talk and what he's saying and the jokes that he's making. And we were very similar. We talked the same way. We had the same, like thought process and things. And all I realized in that moment was, what is the difference between making so much money? And there's no difference. There is absolutely no difference other than he did the work to get there. And I'm sure it wasn't easy, and I'm sure he had troubles, and I'm sure he lost friends, and I'm sure he lost money, and I'm sure he made bad investments, but he kept going. And that is the difference, is that he just took the time to actually do the work. And a lot of people think it's going to be easy, and when it's not, they give up. And that's not the way that anyone gets where they get, unless it's a family thing, or there are situations where obviously you're born into it or whatnot. But we're now a society where you can literally create your own content. You can create your own TV shows. You can make up your own business. And it's really not that hard to become an entrepreneur. And the basic law of supply and demand is that there is a niche everywhere. There is a need everywhere. There is so many different types of people that need to be represented. And if you can find yourself in a niche where you're working with people that you love for a cause that you love, you're just becoming super successful, because you can give a demand to supply, like a supply issue. Mm-hmm. And I don't think people see it that way. I think people see it as you have to be very professional. And my whole business is built around not being professional and really doing things differently. And because I do that, people respect me. Right. It makes yourself human. And I also have people that reach out to me because they don't feel like I'm trying to sell them on something.
Right.
Like, and I give a lot of people a lot of free advice. And I talk to clients all the time where they're working with another agent, but I just want them to get a property, or I'm telling them about the market or tips that I do for my clients. And the reality is, yeah, sometimes it is a waste of time, but there's those other times where they go, wow, I really like her so much more than who I'm working with, or so much more than those other agents. And that makes a difference. Those personal touches of just like giving something extra really mean a lot to people. Because regardless of anything, what if they're working with, and even on a broader schedule, what if they're working with an agent and they do the tip that I get them, and now they get their dream home, like because they use what I told them to do.
Right.
Regardless of anything, that is rewarding on the back end of me. And I'm a big karma believer. So like I am fine helping someone and giving a lot to people in order for them to succeed. And what people realize is it really takes a community to succeed. Right? Like by doing this, let's say one of you guys or one of you guys as agents uses something that I do and you close a deal and you change that life and then you have a referral back from Los Angeles, well, like maybe you'll call me and it will come back and it could take 5 years, but that is fine. Maybe it's a multi-million-dollar client, you know? Like I have no idea what it could be. I had a situation, I told you I'm a vegan and really heavily involved with animal rights activists, and through open house, I actually met a woman who's a really big involved in that community, and she introduced me to another one because I offered to help. I gave them advice about the real estate stuff, and I was helping her with her house, and we became friends eventually until I got a call one day from her, and she said, hey, so I have a friend who's selling a house and he wants to do a private showing. I told him about you. You know, I know you really want to get into higher end real estate. It's $17 million. Do you think that's high end enough for you? And it was a very, very, yeah.
How much more can you get?
Right.
How much more high end can you get?
Right. So it was a very, very, very rich billionaire who did this because he's an animal rights activist. He bought a very exclusive home, tore it down, rebuilt it to help his animal rescue that he runs. That 2 years prior, I had actually gone to because I found a dog and they let me give them the dog and the dog got rescued out. So we already had that connection. And it was with another broker at that point, but he personally gave me a private tour of his house, introduced me to his girlfriend. And I was giving them advice on how to sell it and stuff. And it looked like if that broker didn't sell it, it was going to come down to me. He ended up selling it and I'm super happy he did. But how many people get the opportunity to even meet people like that, have a private tour, like really go through that stuff? And that was over a very short amount of time. And my belief is like, you do a lot and you give a lot and things happen quickly. And I am fine that didn't go to me because I don't even know if I'd be prepared, but boy, did that make me hungry because now I know what I want and I know how to get there. And I know I can talk to those people. And I know that when I talked, they were listening to me. And like, she asked for my number. She asked for my Facebook. She wanted to connect with me. So next time they have something, who do you think is going to be on the top of their list?
Right.
So I'm fine with that. It didn't come because it wasn't the right timing, and I'm more than happy with that. But I did something that people wait their whole lifetimes to. And I did it because I gave a lot of free advice, and it catapulted me because they knew that I was going to look out for them because I was genuine and I helped them without needing any reason to. So, you know, I think stuff like that really keeps me inspired. And I think you just have to be you. I love being me.
I love you saying that, like, be you. And I love like everything that you shared with us. I mean, you've been so vulnerable. You've shared things that we're so appreciative of. And it reminds me because, you know, going through things as you become successful, you go through hardships, you know, you change and you're trying to figure out like, oh, you know, who am I? Where am I? Like, is this the path I'm supposed to be on? And I just love how there was a quote that I read recently, like, embrace the glorious mess that you are. Yeah. And I think you do that so beautifully, and your clients, like, just, you know, you're not afraid to share some of the messy things from your, you know, your past, or even, you know, the things that you do now, or the mistakes that you made. You're just who you are, like it or not. This is me. And I absolutely love that about you.
Yeah. It's one of the things Abraham Hicks says is, you know, when you get in your car and you put in your GPS and you put in the address and you're going there, and let's say there's a roadblock, you don't turn around and go, damn, I don't want to go to that place anymore because now my direction changed. You go, all right, I'm on the journey and I know the end goal. And if I have to go down this side street to get there, that's fine. I know I'm on the right path, and wherever that side street takes me, it's going to take me to another one and another one and another one. And it may not be the route that I expected, but it will get me to the end result regardless. And you don't question, you don't go, damn it, I have to leave my house only to come back. I don't want to do that anymore. Or damn it, I have to take a left instead of a right. I'm done. I don't want to go to get my dinner anymore. That was stupid. Like, you do it and you deal with it. And if you're a little late, if you make mistakes, if you have to sit because there's a car jam, you just do it because you know that you're going to get there. You just have to remember, like, sometimes the end result is worth an extra 20 minutes, you know? And, you know, and I talk to you about trusting your gut. Yeah. And I think that a lot of my business, I learned The only decisions I regret making are the ones that I didn't trust my gut on, because I think it's so important. I think Western culture has taught people to use logic instead of your gut. The Greeks believed that your brain was in your stomach because that's where all the greatest creations come from. And I think that when you have a gut feeling that you should do something, or that you should take that leap, or you should market that way, or you should talk to that person, it is really important to listen to yourself, because you know what's best for you, and you will look out for your best interest. And a lot of the things that I've done and the risks that I've taken in my business is because I went. And another quick tip is, if you're being creative, like, keep being creative even if that one idea doesn't work. If you get this amazing idea to do a marketing tool, like, and it doesn't work, just allow yourself to keep going down the line of creativity. Really, negativity, positivity breeds positivity. Creativity is also going to breed creativity. And the more creative you can get with your business is the best, because a successful business is doing something different from everyone else, right? Like, it's, like, you need to come up with something that never has come up with before. And it's really hard to say, I need to think of something on the spot that no one else on the planet has ever done before. And it is very challenging, and it's hard to be that creative. But when you can go down the path of being creative and trying experiences and getting more and more and more talented at coming up with stuff, I think that's when amazing ideas come from. I mean, Addicted to Love came because I was in Vegas for a conference, and I had a completely different idea about inspiring people and, like, my success journey, and really going through the day-to-day struggle of how to become successful and stuff. And through that, I turned that into Addicted to Love. And I only came to that end result, and I only came to the result of who I am by letting myself be more and more and more creative and just going with it. Mm-hmm. And if it didn't work, like, sometimes things don't work. I've lost deals before. I've lost money. I've had money stolen from me. Like, I've been through the ringer before, but all that has taught me is how to be a better agent and a better person. And now I know those experiences, so that when I'm doing stuff, I have a whole armada of things that I know already, or have been through, or have tried, or, hey, like, maybe the whole marketing plan didn't work, but this was a really good idea. Let's take that in a different direction, and let's see where we can go with that. Because you get yourself down this path, and the more creative you get, you're now thinking very outside the box. Yeah. And I think, like, to be a really, like, edgy, cool, rough, successful person, you think outside the box. Mm-hmm. And people are taught, and you have these brokerages that want the cookie cutter. This is exactly the way you should be, and follow this technique. But everyone is doing that. Why would they choose you if you are a bland agent? If you have nothing to offer than what your big company with 1,000 other agents does, why are they going to choose you? There's no reason for them to, and they won't. They will go with someone who they agree with, or they relate to, or who does something different. And then people go, why didn't they choose me? Well, because you didn't have any of actual value to offer them. Like, right. You have to make a difference. You have to change. You have to come up with stuff. And that's why people that are successful are some of the most brilliant people, and they're artists, and they do stuff. And even the people that are in top end business, they have portfolios that are very creative, and people lack that, and they don't do that. And then they wonder why.
And the key is figuring out, like you were saying earlier, what is authentic to you, so you can go and be that. I think so often, agents, even like writing their bios, or, putting together value propositions. We're doing that in one of our training classes, just things like that. I think when agents start that process, they're thinking, what does everybody want me to be, versus what do I need to be,
right,
to be authentic to myself. And that's going to attract like-minded people to,
right.
to like you said, like your sphere, your people,
right.
And not trying to attract everybody, because you're not going to work for everybody, but
right.
attracting the people that you want to work with, that also want to work with you.
Right. And it is really, yeah, it's a very outside of the box of what people, because a lot of people are like, I need to cast my net and hope that one fish gets it, right? And that is not the way to go. Like, you need to focus. And it's funny, because my business is, and I've turned this into, I'm going to be so outrageous that you will know who I am, because I will be unforgettable. Like, people know me because I have short hair and tattoos on my hands and, you know, show up in ripped jeans and the motorcycle. And even if they don't want to work with me, I bet you they will never forget that I did that. And they will know my name at the end of the day if they hear it again. And that is successful marketing. Like, I
remembered you out of, like, how many people were at that YPN event?
I think like 250.
250. You stuck out in my mind. Yes, I remember you. Yes.
Because I was a troublemaker.
No, not at all. But it was just like, you know, your presence, your style, just who you were. I was gravitating to you, like, just automatically. So,
you're so sweet.
It worked. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm in a lot of positions of power in my association. I'm the YPN chair. I'm on the board of directors. I'm the membership chair. There was a whole portability initiative. I managed my whole region, which was my association of about 800 people. So I was the representation for them. I'm on the path to become president in the next 2 or 3 years. So I'd be the youngest president, I think, ever.
Ever in the nation, I'm sure. Yeah.
I think I'll probably be the youngest president ever. But I've struggled because a part of that is actually, I've gotten a little bit of kickback from people and being like, dude, that person has tattoos on their hands. They don't show up in heels and all that stuff. And like, I had to deal with that. And at the end of the day, come back and say, or even like with Addicted to Love. I mean, I'm sure that no one on this has seen my Addicted to Love channel, but like, some of those photos are risky photos of like showing anything, but like topless photos and us in our.
Oh, say that one more time. You were just breaking up. I lost risky photos.
Oh yeah, so we do risky photos, or we'll do photos of us kissing, or like we have some topless photos and all that stuff, and I had to be prepared for kickback. And it's funny because I didn't get kickback from any of my clients. All they kept telling me is how much they liked it. But the people that I don't do business with and I don't like had kickback, and that was fine. And I had to deal with, like, if I'm going to put that content out there, I'm doing it because I think that, for multiple reasons, along the lines of, I don't think there's anything wrong with body positivity. I don't think there's anything wrong with LGBT community. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with showing affectionate, because if that was a guy and a girl, it'd be no big deal. But because it's sexualized, because it's two women, I'm going to deal with a ton of kickback. Like, position of power, and you're really doing some risky stuff. I had to be aware of, like, I may get kicked out of my state committee that I'm in. Like, that is a possibility. Or I may have people say that person cannot be president. Like, she is too out there and she does too much risky stuff. And I said, that's fine. And I dealt with a little bit of pushback for a little bit until they realized I didn't care. Like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, because your opinion of how I'm running my business has no impact on my income. It has no impact on the lives that I'm changing. And just because you're unhappy, that doesn't mean I'm not going to help millions of other people potentially, or change someone's life, or talk about how I've been depressed and someone takes that and doesn't kill themselves. I am not going to change yourself at the end of the day. And with that, I decided I'm going to just be myself. And my next tattoo is actually going to be a big tattoo on my neck. And then I'm going to finish my sleeve. And I want to get that sooner than later, because part of my marketing is being so out there and being so noticeable and being such myself and not caring, that I'm using myself as my own marketing piece. Like, I'm going to do whatever I want with myself and my lifestyle, and you will know me by the end of the day. And with that, I know my niche. I want to get into the LGBT community. I want to get into the entertainment sector. And who better to represent LGBT and entertainer than an LGBT entertainer who doesn't care and can relate to, the body shaming that happens with celebrities, or the slut bashing, or all that stuff. If I've been through it, I now relate to you. I know how you live your life. I've been there before. So I can sell you this house and relate to you, and you will not get any judgment from me. And a lot of people relate to that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very, very out there way of thinking, but it's working for me,
I think it's a breath of fresh air for me. I mean, I think it's so inspiring. I think it's authentic to who you are. And I think more people should learn to be that way, because, especially in a society where, everybody wants to walk that status quo line. You've got to do this, you've got to be this way, act this way, or do this, a certain way. It gets defeating when that's not really who you are. I mean, and I think it's very inspiring. I know I keep saying that, but it really is like the life that you're living, just being so true to who you are. I mean, if no one on this Facebook Live gets anything from tonight, which I know you're going to get a lot of stuff. I mean, the feed's going crazy. I'll read it in a second. But is be who you are. And what if somebody says, well, I don't really know who I am? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, I would say test stuff out and play off what you do know. Like let's say you are a football fan, like maybe do some marketing that is relating to the team that you like or football, and make some funny puns and do funny things like that. Start small, because again, creativity breeds creativity, and you're going to get that idea, and that idea is going to spark another idea. And then all of a sudden you have all this fire of creativity going on because you started small. Most people know what most people like, like there's a reason that the $1 million listings work with celebrities. It's because they themselves are now a celebrity because of the show, and they are relatable. So like, if you want to get into a niche, immerse yourself. It's like a language, right? You can kind of play with the language if you're not in the culture and stuff. But if you really want to learn that language, go into that country and you will almost immediately pick it up. And people will respond to that and respect that and stuff. And if you want to get into cars and you want to go into that lifestyle, put yourself in there. If you want to work with LGBT, stand up and be comfortable with yourself and make yourself known as that. If you want to do something, along anything, you have to put yourself out there and really integrate yourself in that community. And that's fine. And it's going to suck. And it takes time sometimes. I always say, like, I planted so many seeds and that's why it took me so long. I mean, going from 19 and I knew no one out in California, like no one. I knew my sister, but we didn't talk much. And now I live with her, which is a whole different story. But, I knew people that were 19. Like, who the hell is 19 in California going to buy a house? No one, but I planted seeds and I made myself known as a good person. And I told everyone that I could, and every single opportunity, like, this is what I want. This is what I want. This is what I want. These are my goals. And like, I am going to do this, and I am going to be on TV, and I'm going to have my own reality TV show. And then all of a sudden, because I started saying those things, when people heard those opportunities come up, who do you think they thought of? They thought of me, because that's all I had been talking about. And I didn't know what I want. And even if you don't know what you want, my business plan and my lifestyle and what I'm doing is literally changing day by day. I mean, 2 days ago, I came up with a whole political movement that's going to change the world, just because I need more things on my plate. But but that was inspiring. And I'm sure because of that, I'm going to get new ideas of how to feed stuff into my business. And if I were to look back 6 years ago, I would never think that I'm in my position now. Like, I get to help out my family, and I get to live with my nephew, and I get to help him. And I have my beautiful girlfriend who I manifested, and I only have her because I went through horrific abusive relationships and I learned what I didn't want. And, it's okay to be, and I think I told this to you, it is okay to fail, and it's okay to be in bad situations, because you can only know the positive and you can only know the good if you know the counter of that, which is bad. If you have a bad deal, situation, if you have a bad relationship or a bad client or a bad working relationship, and you don't like anything about it, you know what you now want to look for. You know the positive. Hey, that wasn't for me. And you can now dictate the rest of your future on that. And people think it's the end all be all when something goes wrong, and it's just not. It's a learning experience. I mean, the Dalai Lama has a whole thing about, like, be very grateful for people that push your patience, because they're teaching you what you don't want, and they're teaching you how to be a better person. And they're teaching you patience, and they're teaching you how to control your anger, and they're teaching you X, Y, and Z. And I try to implement that as much as possible. And like I said, it does suck. There are times when it's so overwhelming, and my relationship struggles, and I don't know what to do, because it was 4:00 in the morning last night, and I was emailing my executive officer apologizing that I was giving her something late because I'm so slammed on my schedule, I don't know how to manage it. And it's a learning, and it sucks sometimes, and it is overwhelming and suffocating, but I will get past it. I will learn how to deal with it, and I will learn how to systemize myself, and I will learn how to deal with these problems so that when the next amazing opportunity comes, I have that tool belt ready.
Right.
You know? So again, it's hard to be in that situation in the moment and be like, oh God, this sucks, but I know it's for the best. Like, it's really hard to snap yourself out of that. But the sooner that you can get on that bandwagon, it becomes easier and it becomes easier and it becomes easier to do. And the second you get negative, you know how to snap yourself out of it. And when things are hard, it's nice to know that it's not the end of the world and you're not going to die because of it. Like, it's just a learning pain. It's an inevitable thing.
Such a powerful message. Like, seriously, I constantly have like chill bumps right now. Let me go to the feed and see. I think we've got some questions. I want to read you what everybody's saying here. Yeah. Hi, Leah. Hi. Thank you for joining us. Let's see. Brittany, that is admirable. I love that. Leah for president, Jake says. Soraya says, what type of marketing do you do? Social media / referrals?
Yeah, so the marketing that I do on social media, I usually use Instagram. I started posting my listings on Facebook just to kind of get themselves out there. I always think, when you market a property, you're not marketing the property. You're really marketing the fact that you have a property. So I like to do Instagram. I think people need to learn how to use social media better. I think you have a huge range if you get on the right bandwagon, and there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. And I think that, like with Instagram, you need to take every opportunity that you have to put yourself out there. You have to remember that when you do a hashtag, and this is a great thing, talking about community, when you use hashtags on Instagram, for example, you should use hashtags that relate to the niche that you want to get in. So like when I'm putting up a house in Los Angeles and I know that I want to work with LGBT, well, I'm going to tag as many LGBT tags along with real estate. So that, I'm pitching myself out as a agent, so other realtors see my property in the hoo-ha. But like, I also want other LGBT members to see that another member of their community is a realtor. So I do brands like that. And a lot of people they don't understand the power of stuff like that. Like, hashtags can reach a lot of people. So you need to be very conscious of how you do that. You need to highlight and do messages like that get the point across. I also like to market myself. Like I said, I dress in a very different way than most people. I have the tattoos. I do stuff differently. I talk a lot about me being in work and stuff when I'm out. I don't hesitate to bring it up if people have questions or if they need real estate stuff. I think one-to-one marketing is always the best. One thing that I'm going to start doing in my area, there's a lot of dogs and people that walk their dogs. I live in a really nice area. I'm actually going to put my logo on portable dog bowls and put it on the inside and walk with my dogs and hand those to the people that also have dogs. Like, I think rather than doing a mass mailing, you have to find a commonality, right? So like, I have a dog, you have a dog, I live in your neighborhood. We're going to relate on that aspect in the least, Right. So let me give you something that you can use. I love dogs. You're going to love your dog. I'm going to give you something to support your dog. And every single time you use it, it's going to have my logo on it and you're going to think of me. So stuff like that is relatable and personable, I think is really like the best marketing that you can do.
Love that.
Yeah.
Jake says, Leah, you're the flyest. Let's see here. Casey says, how many hours a night does she sleep?
I actually like to wake up like around 10 a.m. But I try to sleep. I would say like 7. But I earned that. When I was working my other jobs, I usually got about 2 to 3 hours a night. And the first year that I was out here, I did not have a day off for a full year, even on holidays. I worked every single day, and it was either a 7, a 9, or a 12-hour day. And I was very sleep deprived. There were points where I was working so much and I remember this because I was like, this is getting to the point that it's unhealthy. I was talking to my girlfriend, a different one, and I was falling asleep mid-sentence. And literally I was working so much that I would be like this and I would drift and my conversation would go, like my sentence would change course immediately. Like, actually be able to sleep 7 hours a night. I feel like I earned it.
You did earn it, girl. Absolutely. Let's see here. Going up the feed. Brandon says, is there anything specific that you would want to tell yourself to do or not to do as a new agent if you could go back with the knowledge experience you have now?
Yes. I think about that a lot. What I could tell myself if I was starting off. Definitely only work with people you want. And if you're doing something for the wrong reason, don't do it. And you have to be really okay making mistakes, and you cannot be hard on yourself. And you can't say, oh God, like I lost that one client, I must be a horrific agent. Like, how did I do that? And I still feel that sometimes, but like, you have to give yourself a pass, like you have to allow yourself to make mistakes and you're allowed to bask in the feeling bad a little bit, but you have to be okay to jump off of it. And be creative and be different and be yourself, and you will attract people that like that. I spent a long time figuring out who I was, and now I would never go back, and people wouldn't want me to go back. And I think that like having a good personal life and knowing who you are is the most important thing that you can do, and just following that path wherever that leads you, even if that's out of real estate. A lot of the stuff that I do isn't even related to real estate, but it can tie back in. And I love it.
That's great advice. So to add to that, Joey, his question is, how often do you find yourself walking away from business?
Walking away? I don't walk into business I don't want.
Okay.
I will not give people my information unless I think I want to work with them. I had a deal in Palm Springs that I partnered up with someone, and we canceled that deal because he was a horrific seller to work for. And it's not worth the money. And I try to veer away. If I find that someone's wasting my time and they're not actually a good person, or like they're just looky-loos, or it seems unethical and I'm getting a bad vibe about what's happening, and I will happily just fade out of the picture and focus on the bigger things. When you take up your time focusing on things that are negative and time consuming, that means you're taking away from opportunities to find better situations. If I'm wasting 20 hours a week dealing with one client who's never going to sell his house anyway, I could spend that 20 hours working for people, multiple ones that will.
Right.
So why would I waste my time doing something like that when at the end of the day, the outcome's going to be negative because he's negative, and it's going to be painful, and it's going to make me not want to do business, and it's going to exhaust me. And that's not my style. I would rather be happy. And you have to think about this. Every hour that you give someone, you're basically paying yourself, right? So if you spend a year working for a $5,000 commission, what did that break down per hour that you gave someone an hour of your life for $5? You were willing to trade an hour of your life for $5, or like a small deal or even a big deal. Like, was the amount of stress or negativity that you had to deal with worth it? Like, for me, I would rather be happy and change someone's life, or, use my message to influence other people into being positive than a $20,000 commission any day.
I love that. Yes. Let's see here. Great advice. And Kendrick says, what advice do you give to an agent who hasn't worked with anyone yet?
Hasn't worked? Don't not continue. Really like focus on what works for you and stay excited. And if you're passionate, other people will pick onto that. And be different and creative. Everyone started off not having any clients, and I had to start super small. I did small leases and dealt with the scraps from other people, or I took on challenges that other people didn't want to take on, but being yourself. And you have to remember, if someone's already doing something, there's no reason that they would go to a new agent when there's a more successful person doing it. That doesn't make sense. It's like if you want a star singer and you had the choice between Beyonce and you, like the obvious choice is Beyonce. Like they're not going to give you a shot if you're trying to do the same thing as her. Like right. You need to become your own artist. You need to become your own person that can offer something different and really find a value for your clients. Like your clients, and especially in today's age where technology almost gives agents and clients the same information, right? Redfin, Trulia, like a lot of the time, or even just Google, people Googling stuff that I don't even know. And then I have to deal with this question and I don't even know the answer to that. I'm supposed to be the professional. You have to offer a different type of value. And the sooner you discover what that value is, the easier it's going to be for you to pitch it to people. And really, the quicker then you'll get clients. You have to fill a demand. So whatever you want that demand to be, or your niche to be, or your specialty to be, like figure that out, because that will catapult you into your next step.
So Kendrick, you have to fill a demand. Love that advice. So good. Emily says, why were you a part-time agent for so long?
I was a part-time agent for so long because I didn't take the leap. I was in an abusive relationship with someone who couldn't stand when I would go out with clients. I was pretty depressed at the time and dealing with it. I mean, that funneled into everything, right? So the harder it took for me to do real estate, the more depressed I got and the less I wanted to do real estate. I was also younger, and I think it's been an emotional growth and journey over time. And I am a much different person than I was 5 years ago. It's every day I'm a different person. I'm a different person from 2 hours ago and having this meeting with you guys, right? You learn a lot. And I feel inspired sometimes by what you guys are saying and what I'm saying, and it reignites that passion. But I was a pansy and I didn't take the leap. And I didn't think that I could do it. I've only recently come into the situation of being like, I'm unstoppable and I'm going to do whatever I want. And I don't care how other people feel about it. I'm just going to do me. It took a long time for me to get there. And I realize that now because I know the dark side of it.
Right.
I know what it was like not succeeding. So when I am succeeding, I know how that feels, and it's addicting. Right. And now because I went through the process of struggling and not succeeding. And on the grander scheme of things, I struggled for a long time because I needed to learn a lot of lessons and grow up. I mean, real estate in California is very expensive. It's very high demanding. You're dealing with millions of dollars. You're dealing with people's whole life savings. And I was very young. I mean, I'm still only 24. So, it's a lot of responsibility. And I probably wasn't ready at 19 to walk a $17 million house. So I'm grateful for struggling for so long, and it has then catapulted me into the situation I am now. But yeah, I probably just wasn't ready, and I didn't take the risks. I didn't believe in myself. Easier to do whatever and become successful.
Yeah, believing in yourself, like getting to that moment is everything. I mean, that is worth the wait. So we have time for one more question. I don't want to keep you. I know I told you an hour. We're a little bit over. Jessica.
Oh, good. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, good. Yeah, everybody is here, definitely. Jessica says, so would you say the biggest marketing tool you used, so what would you say the biggest marketing tool you used as you were starting out was just talking to as many people as possible about real estate and your goals, along with finding commonalities?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. And to kind of go on the past question, I am so grateful that I worked at Trader Joe's, because it taught me A, how to work hard, and B, how to talk to people. I think the most important thing you can do in real estate is know how to use your mouth. And this goes into your transactions too, not just your clients, but I learned how to use language in my favor. And I only learned that through working at Trader Joe's and experiencing people. And if you guys haven't ever experienced NLP, it's neuro-linguistic programming. And it's basically the subconscious mind has things like, for example, one thing I like to do is, and not in a weird way, but like softly touching someone. Like I do this a lot with like guys or girls, but and it's easy for me too, but like touching them on the shoulder briefly gives you a connection, and it will make someone like you more if you give them a gentle touch in a very friendly way. Like subconsciously, people will like you more if you do stuff like that. If you speak the same way that they do. If they're talking fast, talk fast. If they talk slow, talk slow. I think my biggest marketing is learning how to use language to negotiate, to have an impact, how to learn how to steer conversations, learn how to present myself. I think I told you I had a listing and an investor came and I was talking with him and I was just vibing on him. I saw an opportunity and I wasn't quite sure what it was, but I knew that I saw an opportunity, and I was like, this is someone I want to talk to a little bit more. So he brought in his clients, and we were talking, and I gave my little spiel about myself and was making jokes with them and joking around and being playful and being different. And the next day, they gave me their $5 million 5-condo complex, telling me that I'm going to be the agent that they represent. And that was within 24 hours. And that was dressing down and driving up with a Jeep with a cracked windshield and being younger. And they were Chinese buyers. And I spoke in a way that made them want me, right? And I think if you can learn how to communicate properly and you can really use your words to dictate the future outcome, that is all the marketing that I could do and that I've done. And it has made such a big difference.
That's great advice.
And it also helps in negotiations. If I would say if one of the things that I love doing is I can always tell if someone's a young agent or a new agent by how they write contracts. So to you guys, make sure that you're doing contracts properly, because it is a telltale sign if you're new or not. And sometimes and this isn't, I earn people's trust because I will help them. I will give them a bone, and even through a deal, like let's say I have a new agent as working with me on the other side of the transaction, I will give them advice on something, and then they will ask me how to manage their clients, which at the end of the day, it allows me to kind of like know where the situation's going, right? And I'm not being unethical, and I'm making sure that the deal goes through and they're not getting the short end of the stick. But if they trust me and another agent is coming for advice on how to deal with their clients, I can make sure that the proper message is being sent.
Yeah.
And that the proper information, do that through language. So if my biggest advice would be like, learn how to control your words and become a solid talker. And that can get you very, very far. There's a reason networking is so important.
Learning how to read people. You're so right. I mean, learning how to read people early on to pick up on their mannerisms so you know how to communicate effectively is so important as you're building that relationship. That's great advice. Have you heard of Glennon Doyle?
It sounds semi-familiar, but
you're going to have to look her up. You remind me so much of her. Like, I just actually learned about her through a podcast this morning. Was it, or maybe it was yesterday. Anyway, I looked her up and she is fantastic. I'm going to send you her Instagram.
Yeah, for sure.
She's so much like you in that she is so raw. She's herself. She opens up and, talks about the things that she struggled with. Well, she went on to follow that path wholeheartedly and has wrote several books, is on Oprah's book list, been interviewed by the lady that wrote Big Magic. I just completely forgot her name. An LGBT activist, like feminist, just a complete powerhouse. You guys remind me a lot of each other.
Yeah.
And now, before we go, is there a book or a quote that you want to leave everybody with?
Well, there's two things. One, to kind of add on that, another tip of advice I would say is to go, because that reminded me, don't sell yourself as an agent. And I know that sounds a really weird thing, but how annoying is it when affiliate sits down with you and all they want to talk about is what they can offer you? What does that do? It turns you off to them. Like, I know the people that sit down with me and are just harassing me for business, I will never give them my business. The affiliates that I give the most business to are the people that ask me out to dinner and ask how my family's doing and want to talk to me about the dogs. And we vibe and we talk about hard things. And those are the people that I want to work for, and work with. And I know a lot of people are like, sell, real estate, sell. Tip advice, the best marketing you can do is to not sell yourself, because people can sniff out a salesman. And you do not want to be a salesman, because salesmen get hung up on, they get ditched, and they are, in a lot of people's eyes, they are like the lowest class of people are salespeople. You want to be someone that helps people. You want to be someone who gets to know people. And that will make a difference. And I actually have this. I love this quote. It's actually written on my arm. She slept with wolves without fear, for the wolves knew a lion was amongst them. And as a new agent and as someone in their community kind of like getting into it, I love that quote, because if you know who you are, you don't have to worry about anyone else, and everyone else will have to worry about you. I can go into a room and there are times when I'm like, oh God, I don't deserve to be here. But people know I'm a lion. And they may be sharks and they may be wolves, but they will get shot down by me. And I don't have to worry about that. I know who I am. And if a lot of people don't know who they are, and if you can have that upper hand in knowing who you are, you will be more successful than 99% of people, because so many people have no idea where they're going in life, have no idea their path. And if you can be that 1%, people will recognize that and they will look up to you like crazy. And when people will look up to you, they respect you and they trust what your decisions are and they trust your business ethics, and they will give you business because they are desperate. They are desperate to work with you.
Right.
And that is how you have a sustainable business. You earn respect and you make yourself desirable. You know, when I tell clients, I don't work with everyone and I will kick people off. And if I'm giving you my number, it's because I want to work with you. They go, damn, I am special. I get to work with Leah. And if I get to work with Leah, I'm going to trust her and we're going to get this deal done, because she doesn't work with everyone else. And that means she chose me. Mm-hmm. And it does make an impact. If you put yourself into it's like, if you're asking, hey, my quote for the day is $1,000, who do you think you're going to attract? You're going to attract people that go, oh yeah, that's what I'm looking for. But if you say, hey, like, I'm going to charge $20,000 per hour, you will find people, because that means that you think you're valuable enough for $20,000. And that's a really weird and hyper exaggeration, but you know, people will go, damn, she must be really good if she's charging that much. She must have a lot of experience and she must know what she's talking about to charge that much. And you will find people that will pay that value to be able to talk to you and to do stuff. And faking till you make it is a real thing. I had no idea what I was talking about, but I did it. And there's a lot of times I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I know my value and who I am, and I know I'm a lion, and I know I'll figure it out, and people pay for that. And that's why they will give me business over someone else, because not only do they know that I'm worth it, but they know that I'll do a good job for them, because I have it in my ethical consciousness that I want to be genuine and help people, regardless if that might be a financial setback for me sometimes. And people respect that.
So if we have any clients, Leah, I can promise you we are sending your way, girlfriend. How do we get in touch with you? Tell everybody how to find you.
Yeah, I mean, you can call me. My number is 323, and I'm always, and this goes to anyone watching this, like, you can hit me up on Instagram, you can hit me up on Facebook, like, just say you're from this and you're not some rando hitting me up. And like, I'm always happy to offer advice or to like or tell you how I would talk to that client. Like, you're more than welcome to reach out to me and ask those questions. My number is 323-515-9914. My email, and I can probably text this to you if you want to blast it out too. I guess my IG is easy.
I'll post it in the thread. Yeah.
Yeah. My Instagram is Leah, Leahk, as in kangaroo, Archer, as in the TV show. So Leah K. Archer is my Instagram handle, and you can kind of see a little bit of the marketing that I'm talking about. Addicted to Love is a linked onto that account, so you can see that. But you guys are more than welcome to reach out to me and ask questions. And I really just want to help people and change the world. So I'm like always willing to offer positive advice and help.
Well, you're doing it. You are doing it every single day through your social media, through what you stand for, through your clients. You are really one to follow and look to. And I'm so excited to see what you do in the future with your show and how that grows, and whatever you're doing with this political campaign. I can't wait to find out. I can't wait to see it. And we just think the world of you. And I mean, so many people are saying, thank you so much. You're so inspiring.
Oh, you guys are awesome. I just want you guys to succeed.
Yeah.
Just believe in your guys' self and follow your own path. And even if that leads you out of real estate, it is okay if real estate wasn't what you're meant to do. As long as you end up being happy. Like, love and happiness is the essence of what we're here to do and spread. And if real estate's not that, or if it is, like, just follow that path. Because if you're not happy, your life's not going to be happy, you know? And then what are you doing it for?
I love that. That's such a great way to end it. Gosh, Leah, that is like beautiful. Thank you so much. We want to definitely have you back. And
you guys are awesome.
Up her Instagram, guys. She is fantastic. I love following your Instagram. It's just so cool and hip. It makes me want to like become hipper or just be hipper all around. I don't know how to be hip. That's not my thing, but watching you, I'm like, I want to do something cool. So thank you for inspiring everybody. We love you. And thank you so much for being on in our Go group tonight.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Seriously. It's my honor. I appreciate you guys asking me so much. It means so much to me.
Thanks, Leah. Have a good night, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.